Hey, good afternoon again. This is David Howard, Professor Howard with Laterno, and just want to walk through an important issue that I think is relevant for us as we get going. The citation of sources. It is intellectual property, and it is how we kind of keep the conversation going. So as we have conversations with each other, and as there's a broader conversation going on the topics of American history all around the world, and so we are. Whenever we pick up a textbook, whenever we pick up an article, whenever we watch something on the news, it is in some ways contingent upon the discussion that we've been having along the way. So I want to talk with citation because that's important. And it's not that citation. A lot of times people think that if I cite my sources, then it makes me look weak because I have to use somebody else to make my point. No, but when you get involved in a conversation with a lot of intellectual people, a lot of people in the world of academia, and you're able to contribute to the conversation, then you look smart. If we go in there and we add, we want to get some information from them and want to post it up as ourselves, then we run into trouble. Because then we don't look smart, because then when it's found out, we look like a thief. I had a student, because one of the things that we will do, we will turn in several of our assignments, research papers, essays, that type of thing. We'll go through the plagiarism checker, turnitin.com. And that's a pretty accurate little thing. It will flag everything, okay? And so it's not whether somebody plagiarized a particular thing. Say, for instance, there is an assignment that we used to use where people would write the name of a particular primary source. They would have to do that in the paper. So that source would always be reflected that, the name of that source has been plagiarized because somebody else used the name of that source in another paper or something like that. I did have one student that had a very good paper, read it, looked over, looked at the plagiarism checker because it will tell us exactly what percent of the paper and the words from each source. All right? It would tell us if it's appropriately cited or not. Does it use quotation marks? Or if it doesn't use quotation marks at the end of a passage, a quoted passage, then at the end of a passage, maybe at the end of a paragraph where you've paraphrased or something, you're responsible to putting that information in there too. So whether you cite something directly word for word or whether you paraphrase something, it should have where you got that idea from. Now, if it's your ideas based on multiple sources and you have, a creative idea yourself, then yeah, but you want to give credit to those who, went before you. So this one student, beautiful paper, it said 11% plagiarized. Not that big a deal. And usually a lot of times, that's because of the plagiarism checker is, just checking things. And so we always look at that, we always look at it. And so, but I thought it was curious. The plagiarism checker said Laterno University is where that source came from. I went, that's interesting. It probably is because it was a paper and similar assignments will show similar things and that kind of thing. So I clicked on it anyway. And I just happened to see the name. I looked at the name of the person who turned it in previously. It was the same last name of the student who was turning in this paper. It was an older brother. This student had taken the older brother's paper and had rewritten it so well, paraphrased it so well, that it was hard to tell. I mean, he took as much time going through rewriting that paper so it wouldn't be flagged on the plagiarism checker as it would have taken him to to do it anyway. It probably took him more time doing that. So, anyhow, as I'm required, I reported that to the academic dean, and they went through particular disciplinary measures with that. So, one thing that you want to know is that LeTourneau University, as a Christian university, integrity is very, very important. So, thou shalt not steal, one of the 10 Commandments, all right? So, it's not just money, but it's stealing somebody's ideas. And a lot of times we do it inadvertently. I know. I got caught. My PhD, I had to write 3 exam papers, 20 to 25 pages each, in a 3-week period. You got a question at 8 o'clock one morning, and the paper was due at 8 o'clock the next morning. There was a list of about 50 books on two of the tests. The other test had a list of about 100 books that I had read in advance. So I had been told by an advisor and by 2 of the faculty members that were testing me that if I had previous work written, I could use that. Or if I had done some pre-writing based on these books that I read and I was keeping notes and writing and that type of thing, I could use those. Well, one of my professors, not one of the 2, she flagged me for self-plagiarism. I had written a paper for her. When I was writing the paper for the exam, there were a couple of pages actually that fit perfectly because of the books that I was writing about were books that we read in her class. And so she knew that, and I copied and pasted. I quoted, they were cited correctly. Everything was correct, except I did not indicate I had written that prior in another academic setting. So a lot of times students will sit here and say, oh, I wrote a paper for that course over there, so I'll just submit it for this one over here. No. So each individual class should be individual, unique research to that particular class. Now, if you're working on a particular idea from one class to another, like I know a guy who wrote a chapter of his dissertation in many of his graduate seminars. And so by the time he finished his seminar courses, his dissertation was essentially done. But he got permission from each one of his professors to do it. It was a related idea, but he was telling them how in this class it was going to be different. And so we want to be careful with that. So with that said, let's just go to just a couple of PowerPoint slides here, and so we can get that. All right. So citation of sources, APA style. I use Chicago Manual of Style because that's what history uses. LeTourneau University uses APA style, American Psychology Association. All right. And so the style that they use is of interest. So let's kind of take a look at that. So where did you get that video? All right, so accurate citation of sources is nothing more than just letting people know where you got information. You do it all the time. You let your friends know where you got that crazy cat video or crazy human trick or something like that. You share the link with them. You're citing your sources when you do that. You tell somebody else you came from you found this great restaurant, or you went to a museum and you saw this beautiful, Van Gogh or Jackson Pollock painting or something like that. You go, I saw that here and this is where I saw it. And that is citing your sources. You wouldn't go into the museum and said, that was my painting hanging on the wall, that you need to go see that painting. No, it has somebody else's name on there. Same way with literature and with writings and with pictures. All these pictures, these are open because they were on the internet and in particular settings, and these were open. These are not purchased, and so they don't But you want to, if you are going, like if you're going to do a visual project, the images are to be cited as well, all right? Unless there's open citing or something like that, and Google and Wikipedia and those types of things are not necessarily appropriate sources, all right? So citations make you look smart because you can have a conversation with other smart people, all right? So just kind of keep that in mind, that you look good when you cite your sources. And if it's nothing else, if you can just, you're recognizing good conversation and good information. One of the best things I use is Purdue OWL. I use that myself a good bit as a guide for what I'm trying to do. And so I just want to kind of go to that website here and kind of work through that. Notice a site here, owl.purdue.edu, owl/Purdue_owl.html. You could stop that if you wanted to, or you can just search Purdue Online Writing Lab, all right? So you'll get down there, and so it's the welcome and everything. Look over here, there's different types. I use the Chicago manual style. We're going to be, in this class, we're going to be using the APA style, all right, American Psychology Association. I click on that little bar, and over here it comes up. You got some workshops or whatever, and it has this APA formatting and style guide. Click on that, and so it will give you the general format. It will talk about that general format, and it have some things you have some vidcast. You can, this compares all the different ones. There's a YouTube channel there you can look at, but here it's going to give you the general format. You're going to have a running title for the head of your paper. So it gives you a sample, it's going to give you a sample title page. Now, please, it has abstract. You don't need an abstract, okay? You don't need an abstract for your papers. You're not going to need that. Because of the length that we're going to be doing. So I'm going to come back up here and I want to show you this APA sample paper. This is wonderful. So how do you cite things? You go down through here, and of course you can download this here too, but it'll go through, and each one of these things, it tells you about the title and the heading and what you should do. And so as you scroll down through there, it explains in all these little boxes, it will tell you what you should do, okay? Notice that there's appropriate places for footnotes, for page numbers. This running title will carry to each page, all right? Now, you come in here and you put a title up there. Your page number is up there, your running title. Now, notice that the font, you should use 1-inch margins and 12-point Times New Roman font. And so that's what you should do. That's a standard thing. That is appropriate format. You don't use that, you will probably get this, knocked on that. So it goes down through here. Now, you want to see here that you coming down through here, they give the name of the author, Cummings et al. That means and all, et al, and all. And then it has the parentheses of the date, because down at the bottom of the paper in their works cited page, they list Cummings, and it's an article, and they will list, and that's the date of the article, so you know which article that comes from. It's always helpful too, I think, if you put the page numbers. It says here, as cited in Cummings et al. 2002. APA doesn't require the page numbers, and so you will not get knocked off if you don't put page numbers. All right, but then you have to have all your work cited down here at the end. But notice that if you, how they're doing this, let me see here, scroll up here. All right, here they have, this is their source. They don't mention the source in the text, right? So in parentheses, they put Hugh, Wood, Smith, and Westbrook 2004. Go down through here, go down to the bottom, and guess what? Hugh, Wood, Smith, Westbrook 2004, and it gives all the appropriate citation. You notice that the top line is indented. The top line is not indented. It's double spaced, and the second line is indented, and each line after that is indented. All right. So you do put the page numbers here because if it's in the journal of an article, then the page numbers here in the works cited page. All right. So that's going to be important for you there. Okay. But you only have to put each work one time in the works cited page. The other ways, if you mention the authors by name, as we saw earlier, you just need the date in the parentheses. Otherwise, you need the author and some in the parentheses as well. All right. So if you have questions on that, LeTourneau has some resources that you can go to as well. If you need direction in that, there's the Student Success Center, which will help you with that. There's a tutoring center. There's a writing lab with LeTourneau. They can help you with that. If you need help and direction on that, then please let me know. Okay, so LeTourneau we are interested in you succeeding, because as freshmen in college, you may not have written academic papers before, and we are learning how to write academic papers. And one of the things I did along the way is that nobody sat down and taught me how to write a paper. Nobody showed me how to do this really. I learned it as I went along because somebody said, do this. I said, oh, that's what all that's about. So your English teachers, I'm sure, have kind of introduced you to the idea of citation and everything. Your librarians at your school will be a great resource as well. So whether it's your librarians at your school or whether it's at LeTourneau, wherever you are, so you'll want to be able to do that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, and I can help give you correct information. Always, if you're ever in doubt, cite. If you're ever in doubt, cite. You will not get penalized for over-citation unless in a lot of these small papers, short papers, 3 pages, 5 pages, you'll have people that will use a number of extended quotes of 4 or 5 lines on a page. You don't need that. You want to paraphrase as much as possible. And if there is a key idea, not just paraphrase, but you want to create your own ideas out of almost as you have all these sources in the room, you're talking to them and you're collaborating together, and you're the one that is writing down this collaboration of ideas. That's kind of how you want to envision it, like all of these sources sitting here in the room, we're having a conversation, and this is what we're going to be saying about it. And you're not going to sit there and quote somebody 5 lines in a conversation. You're going to say, it's going to be a sound bite, like on the news, and you're going to say, hey, this is what I heard. This is the key thing that this person said. And so that's kind of how you're going to want to look at it. So try to avoid extended quotes if possible. You want to lead up to the quote with the kind of information and, build up your point. And then this is kind of like your exclamation mark saying, and this is what so-and-so says. And then you can follow that up with, and see, that's how this all fits together. And so you want to put those quotes in context. All right. Little tutorial. Anyway, hope that helps. If you need any help, let me know. All right. Thank you very much.